Welcome to the planning board meeting of October 2nd, 2018. These meetings are on Milford channel and are recorded. With that, I'll accept a motion to accept the meeting minutes. Motion by Pat, seconded by Babe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 4. Is there an A1P, Larry, that we can
Yep.
get out of the way?
Yep, Beaver and Maple Streets. Give him the application, the check.
I can't see it. What are we doing? Can't even see the thing.
A1P located on the corner of Beaver and Maple Street, located in the RC zone, lots, adequate area and frontage. Smaller lots, 45,039 square feet, the larger ones, 83,000. Minimum is 45.
What was the smaller one, Dan?
45,039?
Endorsable is submitted.
I was waiting for you to tell us that, Larry, as if we
A
didn't know.
check for $350.
Before us before for that.
No.
This is the first time.
Plans endorsable as submitted.
Motion.
Motion by Pat to have Larry sign the plan. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lena. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 4.
Thank you.
Still got a minute or two.
Yeah. You want to go over the wooden drive, Larry?
Nah, that may take longer than you want to spend right now. I had distributed the
Hazard.
decisions, notices from the ZBA. I don't know if that should have been on as part of your packet.
Yep.
So in spite of our recommendations.
You can skip down to number 5. I'm gonna recuse myself on that if you'd like. If you're doing ZBA variances.
Yeah, we might as well, because we can't do
Because
the
I know
public
number 4 will
hearing.
take a minute.
Yep.
I mean, you could talk about the drainage on Gordon if you want, Stan, so.
Oh, we can deal with it afterwards. We'll do ZBA special permit referral for 6.5 acres off of Cortlandt Street. I'll read Larry's letter. The applicant requests a special permit to conduct earth removal activities on the subject property as per section 3.7 of the bylaw. Subsection 3.7.2 specifically requires that the following shall be submitted with the applicant and shall become condition of the special permit: a plan showing existing grades in the removal area and surrounding areas, the proposed finished grades, and proposed cover vegetation and trees, performance bond, and a written agreement being executed specifically specifying compliance with all provisions of the bylaw, such additional conditions as the Board of Appeals may require. The plan that was submitted with the application shows only the existing grades and doesn't show the proposed finished grades or proposed cover vegetation and trees. The application is incomplete. Also, no bond has been provided and no agreement was submitted. Therefore, I recommend that the applicant continue the application until the November zoning Board of Appeals meeting to allow sufficient time for the requirements to be met. From Larry.
Yeah, they didn't submit,
So that's all we have.
yep, what you had in the packet, that they didn't submit a grading plan, there's no bond, there's basically nothing.
Pat's recusing himself on this.
I'm sorry?
Pat is recusing himself
Oh,
on
okay.
this,
Yes, Cortland 5.
based on the fact that there's nothing that shows what the proposed grades are gonna be. I'm not sure how we can give a recommendation any which way, so,
I recommend that we, again, they defer it until we get the grading plans.
so, motion's been made to, send a, recommendation to the zoning board to defer until all the, till the package is complete.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous at 3 with 1 abstention.
And now you have 7:05. See, that worked out perfectly.
Yep.
Here's the,
You all set, Karen?
Yep. On Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018, in Room 3 of Milford Town Hall, 52 Main Street, the Milford Planning Board will, at times designated, conduct public hearings regarding the following: 7:05 PM, application of Demos and Nicoletta, going to say this wrong, Pereiras, for special permit approval to install large-scale ground-mounted carport canopy solar systems at 190 West Street, Assessors Map 50, Lot 32, CC zoning district. The full application and/or maps of the above items are available for public inspection Monday through Friday from 8 AM to 4 PM at the Office of Planning and Engineering at the Town Hall, 52 Main Street, Milford, Mass. Interested parties may express their views at the above scheduled hearings.
Thank you. In our packets, we have a letter from the town engineer. I'll go through that, read that into the records. The submittals for a special permit site plan review regarding the Dairy Queen site located at 190 West Street. The applicant is Demos and Nicoletta Paparas, 80 Silver Hill Road, Milford. Project consists of the installation of carports with solar panels installed on top of the carports in 3 separate locations on the site. 2 locations are where there are existing parking spaces, east and west of the existing building, and the 3rd location is in an area where an existing dumpster pad and 2 existing parking spaces are being removed to create a total of 5 parking spaces southwest of the existing building. Following a review of the submitted documents, I offer the following comments. The proposal in the 3rd location, southwest of the existing building, proposes a riprap slope to meet existing grade. The plan should show existing and proposed contours in this area. The existing drainage in the general area of the 3rd location should be shown in more detail and should include silt sacks to be installed in the existing catch basins during construction. I recommend the issuance of a special permit site plan approval following that the above items are addressed. We also have a letter from the Milford Water Company that finds no issue. And we also have a copy of the Zoning Board of Appeals decision, which granted the zoning variance. With that, I'll turn it over to Attorney Fernandez.
Thank you. For the record, John Fernandez here representing the petitioner, Dan Hazen with Garen Hellman. Mr. and Mrs. Paparas could not be here tonight. They are actually out of the country. We did not want to delay, given the fact that the SMART program is actually rolling out as we speak, but her son is here if there should be any questions relative to the operation. It has been a long journey to our visit here tonight, with several stops here in the past, including for bylaw change, but this is its own special permit hearing, so I do feel for the record we should make sure that all of the appropriate information is provided. So this is the Dairy Queen location on West Street, number 190. So as you're coming up West Main, it's on the left.
West.
I keep saying West Main, West Street, from on 140 from Milford. It's on the left-hand side. Obviously, a very well-known landmark. The Paparas family has owned it since the 80s and operated it. It is one of the most successful Dairy Queens in the country, and that is reflective of the hard work and care and attention that they put into the business. They have been in a situation where, with rising electric costs, they are paying significant tens of thousands of dollars per year for electricity, and are looking for ways to offset that cost, as well as to take some demand off the grid. They've been working with a consultant for quite some time on the possibility of doing solar out here in such a way that it complements and does not crowd the site itself. So, for instance, in doing carports, they're not doing the ports, the car queues that are directly against the building. They're only going to the outside because of the Dairy Queen brand and wanting to maintain that. For purposes of this solar project, they are doing carporting. There's no ground mounted units, because the program that they want to apply to would not mix and match. As such, they are constrained by the location of the outside parking and the requirements that they not intrude into, for site plan purposes and for zoning purpose, into the drive aisles on either side of these. And as such, they were originally planning to do a 140 kilowatt project out here, which was economically feasible, still close in terms of values, but with the income streams analyzed, it made sense. They are down because of losing some space here and some space here to just under 132. It is still just about as far as they can go with economic viability on the project. In terms of the carporting, we believe we've met all the criteria of both the zoning, the general zoning as well as the special permit zoning. The carporting will not extend into the drive aisles. It will be over the aisles here. It will be, the distances here were where the variances were necessary, and in the back here, and slightly up here, those were all approved by the zoning board of appeals. Mike's comment, the town engineer's comment regarding the riprapping has been added to the plan that's before
okay.
you today, as that comment was received by us and Dan, and he was able to put that on the plan for approval here tonight. So the carporting is similar to what you would see at the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza down in terms of both design and height. So we believe it is in conformance with both the special permit requirements as well as your site plan requirements. Happy to answer any questions, would ask for approval if you're inclined to do so this evening.
Questions from the board?
I just have one. John, I know last time you were, which I think was the last meeting,
Yes.
we had talked about the screening and trying to make the steel green
Yes.
in an attempt to mirror, if you will, or hide
Yes.
the arborvitaes that I believe, I don't know if you guys own them or the neighbor, but nonetheless, is that what your plan would be?
Yes, the recommendation did go over to the zoning board. I don't believe the zoning board put it into the permit requirement.
It's not in the decision, that's why I was just
We
curious.
did discuss it afterwards with the consultant who was here at your planning board meeting, so he heard the request. And outside the room, we talked about how we could make that paint color match up to the background, and that's the intent to do at that location.
So as far as, yeah, so you're basically doing the best you can to blend it within
Absolutely, to your
the
point.
environment that's
Correct.
existing.
This
So,
is really the
yeah.
only one that's going to be visible there. and-
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
There hasn't been any neighbors complain or anything like that?
No,
Okay.
these folks have been really good neighbors.
That's
and,
great.
You know, even back here, there's a tree line that blocks this house back here,
Yep.
somewhat of the view.
That was the green
In
out
terms of the Cristino house here, that arborvitae,
Right.
evergreen is up at over 15 feet.
That's great.
And there's just no view down into it. So there's.
I drove by
On this
there,
side, the doctor's
yeah.
office is here, so.
I was by there the other day and saw, I could try to visualize where everything was gonna go.
Yeah, it's an ambitious project for a small business,
Yeah.
but these are ambitious and hardworking people and very conscientious, and they've reviewed it very
Absolutely.
carefully and feel this is the right thing to do. If anything changes, we'll of course let you know.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
Make a motion that we close the public hearing and approve the special permit.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made to close the public hearing and approve the special permit, seconded by Lena. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 4.
Can you sign the second sheet?
Can you please sign the second sheet?
And just for, I know the meeting is closed, but we did submit cross-sections of the carports with the solar, so.
Yeah,
you
it's in-
have
Yeah,
those.
They were with
yeah,
the packet.
yep,
It's in the packet.
they're in the packet.
Thanks.
We just closed the hearing.
No, we've been approved.
Oh, I didn't hear anything. Did you say
Number
that?
3 now.
Yeah.
Joe said
Number
it
3
too.
now, Larry.
And Joe
Thank
said
you
it
very
too.
much.
Thank
Yes.
Good luck.
Thanks.
The South Central.
Would have opened it up to the audience for any comments at the public
But there
hearing, but I didn't
wasn't
see any.
There wasn't any.
I was waiting to see what the water.
What?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't give the standard. You gotta make sure you use their equipment for
Yeah.
not installing any type of water equipment on the site.
No, I didn't hear you reference the fire chief, but we had cleared the fire chief as well.
I don't
didn't
recall
see it in
seeing a
the-
letter in there.
I didn't
but
see it in the packet,
I
but
think
if
that
it-
was addressed the last time you were in front of
Yeah,
us.
we did, I did go down and talk to the chief, and they reviewed it, got back and said it was fine.
This is a informal discussion for modification to South Central Estates 2 subdivision, the drainage on Gordon Drive. I had some conversations with Larry on it and Mike, so this is more of bringing the board up to speed, and then I'm not sure where it was left off between Mike and the applicant and their engineer, so with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Dan Hazen with Gary and Helen on behalf of Fonzo Builders. This is South Central Estates 2, previously approved subdivision. When this was drawn, under drains were shown along the side of the road, basically along the entire east side of the road. Since then, we've gone out and done soil tests for septic systems, and in these areas, we found groundwater on this lot at 8 feet down, 7 feet, 7 feet, 8.5 feet down. The subdrain's typically 4.5 feet down to the bottom of the pipe. It's a 6-inch perforated plastic pipe encapsulated in usually about 2 feet of stone all the way up to the surface to intercept any groundwater that would be coming down slope so that the groundwater doesn't get underneath the road and potentially heave it in the winter. I did have a meeting. What we're looking to do, what we'd like to do is eliminate a section of the under drain in this area, from station 15 plus 75 to approximately station 1950. Groundwater, as we head south, does start to come back up. We would keep this under drain intact, and they tie into the catch basins.
It's on the east side of the road, correct?
Yes, east side of the road. This, the topography of the site all slopes down to the road from this direction. I did have a meeting with Mike, and Larry was also there. We discussed areas that we would keep the subdrain. See this purple area here that's in the, there's a cut section of the road. This entire section of the road down here is all in fill, so you're not gonna get groundwater coming up into that fill. So we would leave the subdrain in this area, and then to avoid impact to the septic system that's proposed here, we would hard pipe it, so it wouldn't have any perforations, wouldn't be acting as a subdrain in this area, down and tie it into that catch basin. So essentially, we're asking to eliminate from 1575 to 1950 for the subdrain on this side of the road.
When I took a look at it, I believe the cut section went further than what you were showing. If you're cutting any section of the road, you're in a cut section as far as I'm concerned.
Right, but also the soil testing shows groundwater.
We can deal with that later. The first one is, just so that everyone on the board understands, in a cut section, we require under drain. I looked at the plan, the cut section goes much further than what they're saying. It was extending probably another 200 feet from what they said. My other comment is that I don't believe we should be doing it. The bylaw says in a cut section you put it. I don't care what testing is. Now we're gonna get into testing on any type of one that we get into it to say,
Right.
do we need an under drain or do we not? If we're in a cut section, my feeling is we should be putting an under drain in.
Absolutely.
So there is a section that is shown in here that I have no issue with, because it is in a filled section, but it does extend further than what the drawing shows here. So that was what I explained to Mike when he sent out the plans to me, that I believe that the under drain needs to extend further than what they're showing here, but that I would be willing to entertain it being not what's shown on the plans, let's say, but not to the extent that's being requested. I don't think we can get into, and I don't want to get into, this is my own opinion, the board can have their own. I don't think we want to get into something where people are going to come to us and say, I don't think I got groundwater here or not. I mean, it's a long-term belt and suspenders thing. I don't know what's going to happen to groundwater in the future. I don't know what's going to happen when they build up here, whether it changes or not. I want to make sure the town's protected, so we're not going in there and redoing. I mean, I think we've driven around Milford enough to know that there's a bunch of streets in Milford that probably should have had under drains that don't have them, that we've got heaves and all sorts of stuff. I don't think we should be eliminating it. That's my feeling.
I'm not eliminating under drains. Why would you?
What's the reason for the elimination of the under drain?
Soil testing in the front of the lots here was, there needs to be a 50-foot setback to the septic systems.
Okay.
So the elimination in this area was to provide for the septic systems in the front of the lots.
So can they put the septics in the back and pump up to them?
It would require more soil testing, and there is wetlands back there. So there's a wetland line that actually shows right here. This is the buffer zone.
Those will be flooded.
It runs right through here. So what we would,
Put the septic in the front.
put the septics in the front outside of the buffer zone.
That's a road drain, it's a road drain, it's not the,
That was the driving force behind
Well, I can
eliminating this
appreciate what
section
you
of the,
attempted to do.
eliminating this section of the subdrain.
So from a process standpoint, if there were a few areas that you'd be comfortable with them not installing it on the east side of the street, then they could just continue with the development, and the as-built plans for the road acceptance would show what was really installed and what wasn't, as opposed.
Yeah, based on what my comments back to Mike were, that change, to me, that change would be acceptable to just do an as-built of.
Right.
If we were to approve this in any form, that's gotta come back, because that goes against, to me, that goes against what we say in our, in the subdivision control law, that we require them in cut sections. That's my reading of it. If we were to, if we were to entertain the proposal as shown here, that should come back as a change actually to the plans.
Modification.
Yeah, there's modification to subdivision. If we were just to eliminate a shorter section where it truly is only infilled through the whole cross-section, then to me, that would be acceptable, come back as an as-built and not show the underdrain. That was the other thing that,
All right.
so that's where I am with it.
yeah. I get, again, I'm a believer in the crush and the subdrain. But with the septic systems being installed there, in a small, in a short, how many feet are being eliminated there?
375 feet.
And you need all 375, or can it be less? I mean,
Well,
you only-
unfortunately, I believe the area that he really needs it eliminated in is in the area that that I'm not too comfortable with. As you get down further, I agreed with him that it could be eliminated, but I think that's probably the area where he has the most room to work with.
I mean, when we did the soil test up here, there was no modeling, there was nothing that even indicated that there was groundwater within 7 feet.
Yeah, again, that's got nothing to do with the bylaw, and the bylaw is the bylaw, is the requirements. I mean, the fact is, we'd be going back and forth with everybody that came in here. Oh, I did a test in front of here, I don't want to put it in. Oh, I did a test in front of here, I don't want to put it in. I don't want to get into that, as far as I'm concerned. Again, I'm not speaking for the board, but as far as I'm concerned, that isn't the way that I would want to do business going forward. I just don't think it's the right way to go.
I agree.
Well,
Where are the septic
I agree
systems
with
being
Joe.
installed? There's a reasoning, just, if somebody came here just to eliminate a subdrain, absolutely not. But where
Yeah,
the,
but
where
Looking to
the,
eliminate
guy
the
might.
outside.
But the
next guy
person,
might.
but we weren't responsible for where they went. We weren't responsible for the lot layouts. We weren't responsible for any of those. Now, we're faced with looking at that and saying, oh, can you waive your stuff because we don't want to change ours?
Yeah.
That's not on us. I mean, our requirements are our requirements, and I don't think we're very difficult with people at all. So, you know, to then keep asking for stuff, I didn't tell them to lay out the lots this way. I didn't tell them to do the testing that way.
What sections would you be amenable to eliminating on this side of the road?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I believe I sent an email to Mike, so he should know the stations that I gave him, so you may want to check with him. I did, when I looked at it, I had said which stations they were.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. And,
We can look at that tomorrow.
yeah, and if you can't find it, I'm pretty sure I could probably find the email, so just, if Mike can't find it or something, just let me know and I'll resend it, but, I think I had it maybe If you said that that was 400, my recollection off the top was that I was probably, out of 400, I thought you needed to go 200 feet further. The last 200 feet, I agreed with you, you could eliminate. That's my guess,
Okay.
as to what I
We'll
said.
just continue till the next
Like,
meeting.
well,
In the
Well,
To
meantime,
continue, all it is an
It's only
informal
discussion, I mean.
Yeah,
No, it didn't continue
What I'm
anything.
saying is that he can take a shot at it again based on the more specific locations that you had mentioned, and then we can report back next meeting.
Well, yeah, you can report back next week. If that was acceptable to them, then as far as I'm concerned, that change can be just part of the as-built, and you can just report back at that. If you want to continue to go down the path and make it formally, that's certainly your choice at that point as to what you want to do. I think you probably heard from the board to a certain extent on.
By putting the blank pipe in, that's considered no under drain, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Could you run the blank pipe the whole distance?
Well, this was a question I had to Mike, and I don't know that he answered this to a certain extent. My feeling is that in fact you have an under drain there regardless, because you're putting it in a sand bed and it's gonna run the sand bed no matter what you do. And that if you're truly gonna do that, you need to really put it in a bentonite dam somewhere along the way to cut it off. That's the only detail that would really make that work. Same thing with the drainage, we're talking about cutting off an under drain, but there's drain pipe there. And I'm not sure Mike was taking it off the drain pipe, but to me, the drain pipe works exactly like the under drain in terms of the details for a septic system. It's a drain, it's gonna follow it down, it's gonna run along the whole thing until it can get in, and in most cases, they don't mortar the joints on concrete pipe, so there's a way to get in at those locations that, you'd really need to put a gasket on those, put a bentonite dam around it at some point to drop it off. That's really what should be happening if we have a septic system issue. So that's the other thing that I think they need to look at in a certain sense is that my feeling is that any type of drain line where you're setting it in some sort of bedding material, that is a drain, whether it's actually a pipe that's an under drain or not. It functions exactly the same way and functions exactly what we're trying to cut off, so that you don't get effluent from the septic systems into the drainage system in any way. So that's something else you may want to have a discussion with Mike on. I believe I did point that out in my response to him when the information got sent over.
Okay.
All right.
We'll do that.
End of discussion.
Number 4.
It'll come
Moving
back.
right along.
We'll do what they have to do and then bring it back.
Amended site plan, 196 East Main Street, Quarry Square Realty Trust. I'll read Larry's letter. The applicant requests amended site plan approval for a further change of use on the subject property. Specifically, the applicant proposes the expanded use of a transportation terminal of 630 current off-street parking spaces. This is to accommodate the proposed expanded delivery van parking associated with the Amazon facility on Industrial Road. The site plan submitted is incomplete. How does that not surprise me? Does not clearly correlate the multiple remaining existing uses with required parking, and does not accurately correlate the multiple discontinued uses with previously required parking. The parking area to the north is being expanded, however, no grading or construction details are provided. In addition, the northeasterly parking area is laid out in a conflicting striping pattern. It will not function as drawn. All of the northern parking areas require paving or repaving. Therefore, I recommend the application be continued until the issues are properly addressed. We also have a letter from the town engineer. Submittal for amended site plan regarding Quarry Square located at 196 East Main Street. The applicant is Quarry Square Realty Trust. Project consists of the expansion of the transportation terminal use that has recently been approved. The proposed expansion of the transportation terminal use will now impact or utilize 630 spaces of the entire plaza. Following review of the submitted documents, I offer the following comments. Parking calculations do not clearly list the total number of existing parking spaces that currently exist. Calculations do not clearly indicate the required number of parking spaces for the remaining commercial use. Parking calculations do not differentiate between the parking spaces that exist and those that are proposed. It appears that there is a parking area with 26 proposed parking spaces. The proposed parking area will require earthwork, grading, drainage, etc., which is not shown. The commercial space to remain has several different uses: retail, bank, restaurant, gym, etc. These uses should be shown on the plan. The parking calculation should reflect the different usages. The plan should be labeled of vacant buildings as discontinued retail space and referenced under the parking calculations. The three northernmost parking areas either have pavement that is in poor shape or that is labeled as such. The plans do not show any improvement to address this issue. The layout of the 110 parking spaces in the northern portion of the site are not designed in a manner conducive to proper circulation of vehicles. With the increased pavement for the 26 parking spaces, stormwater information and calculations will need to be resubmitted. I recommend that the above comments be addressed. Fire department has no recommendations. Water company has no conflicts, and that's what's in the package. You can go through it. I don't think we're gonna be able to get too far without having that information supplied, but
Right.
if you want to outline the areas, it probably would be good.
Dan Hazen, Gary and Helen on behalf of Fafford. As discussed, or as read in, this is a section that was previously approved for 166 spaces. What Amazon and the applicant are looking to do right now is, with the holiday season coming, what we would like to do while we are sorting out the issues in the back here, this is a section that we're in the process of designing the regrading, stormwater in the pink area. We ask that the areas in the orange, there's 238 existing spaces that are currently paved in good condition with lines intact, that these be allowed to be used for the parking. These areas in green, the pavement's in pretty good condition. There's no striping here. There's some equipment or snow removal equipment here that can be removed easily. And then as far as striping, that could be striped, these areas could be striped before it's put into use. And again, as discussed in the letter, these areas in the pink, those we're in the process of designing. So the rush was to get these spaces allowed for, you know, Thanksgiving's, November, Christmas, things like that, so that they can expedite that. We will obviously come back for this section, address the comments, the parking calculations and all that for what is being used currently. These spots are far enough away from what is required to allow for these commercial uses to continue uninterrupted.
I think you're gonna need to address the comments that we have. I mean, it's all fine that you're saying that. We need to have all the calculations. I can, the one area, you know, a comment immediately that I would have is the one area that you're showing along the, I'll call it the northeast, the orange area down by the gym, right there. That is used, to me, that's used quite a bit by people at the gym, and I would be very, to me, I would have a tough time eliminating those spaces, at least to the extent that you show them, because I've gone out there at various times, and people at that location seem to use those parking areas, and considering, you know, everything else, to take that away from them doesn't seem like it's truly appropriate to me. It would seem like the areas as you come down California Boulevard would be much more appropriate than taking those right in front of the gym. That's just me. Those I don't have an issue with, and those spaces in there where you're pointing on the other side, yeah, doing there as opposed to right in front of the gym. That to me is where you know, you can go out and take pictures and tell me I'm wrong and know that people aren't. No, I'm just saying in terms of you coming back in, if you want to truly go there, that's what I would be looking for, is to say we went out and looked and no, people aren't parking there. But when I've been out there, I have seen parking there. I usually don't see any parking to the northwest side of the site in there, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the other locations that you talked about, I don't have too much of an issue with them, but I think you need to complete the parking study and tell us exactly what you have, what you need for parking, what's out there, and how many you're using. Again, no one uses the green site, so I can understand that I've never seen anybody in
Right.
20-something years ever park there. We've tried to have it clean that site up for years, so maybe this is the only way we'll ever get it cleaned up. So I don't have an issue with that site, although obviously you need to go through getting it cleaned up in order to be able to use it and stuff. Is there questions from the board?
I'm at the gym during the week, and it seems to me when I drive by there that they're taking more parking spaces than what they were allowed. It seems to me they are everywhere in that parking space. Not in this particular one that you are showing right now, but if you drove there at 10 o'clock in the morning like I do, they are all over the place. They have their white vans stationed in different areas, and then everybody's car is there. I can't believe how much space they have taken, not just what they're allowed, but to me, it looks like they've taken more than what they've allowed. And I go by it 4 times a week, and it's packed.
They
I'll have to
comply,
look
they
into that.
comply with the parking, they comply with the parking site plan the way they drive off of the Amazon site.
Yeah. I mean,
With
that's
the same amount of care.
that certainly is going to be an issue down here. I mean, what we may find out is that they're
It's
already
the
using more
Wild Wild
parking
West.
than they used to, but than they're supposed to here already. And we're behind the times, and they're already using more for all I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's going to become the issue, and that's why I think we definitely need to know what's the required parking, because if you're coming back and telling us we've got 20 spaces left over at the end, we're probably going to say that may not be enough, because I think what Lena's saying is probably true, is that we're seeing more parking than what is actually being told to us in terms of what they're going to use.
What we did to come up with a number was the Stop and Shop, and I can't remember what was next to it.
TJ Maxx and Home Goods.
Yeah. Their use accounted for 667 spaces. So out of this area, what we're looking for tonight is 354 spaces. Already had 166 approved. So we're still under that 667 that was, and what I was just asking for would be this and that. If we only looked for the 238 existing, granted I can move these over to here, we're still under what was allotted for this structure, this building here, and its use.
Well, I think, personally, I think this board, and with issues with this applicant, needs a completed package that understands exactly what they're doing, when they're doing it, and what. Not just one drawing that says, well, it's okay, then we got this or that. I want to know what they're doing, when they're doing it, how they're going to do it. We're going to take this is how many we're taking, as opposed to, at the end of the day, this is what we end up with. To me, that just doesn't work with them. So that way, when we have an issue downstream and they take more parking spaces, it's going to be a lot easier for us to go back and say, that isn't what you said. Whereas when we get a package like this, it's not complete. It may show an endpoint, but it doesn't show how we got there. And you're going to end up having to go through how we got there. And it can't just be a drawing that looks like that. Yep.
One of the concerns I had also was having the 2 orange spots that you have along Quarry Drive. That's the heaviest traveled portion of the northerly part of the site.
Yeah.
All the through traffic goes through there. So it would seem to me that's the last place you'd want to have these vans backing out because they're all such careful drivers. So I wouldn't have anything that backs out onto the main aisle. If the suggestion was the far northwest field of parking, fine, but don't have anything that backs out on that main aisle.
Yep.
The reason this other stuff may work is because they're backing out onto the cross aisles, not on to either of the main north-south aisles. So, just from a design standpoint or a safety standpoint, I wouldn't want to see them up there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think pushing them to the back, to the northwest corner is the best, yeah, anything that you can get up there, I think is much more,
You're not gonna push them anywhere. They do whatever they want. Don't you people get that? They
That's-
do whatever they want. They're not parking within that blue area now. They're already in that orange area. Don't tell me they're not. Follow them at 6 o'clock and go see what's, no, it's 6 o'clock at night, when they come back and it's the wild, wild west, okay? This is not against Fafford. I don't have a problem with Mr. Fafford trying to get a couple of bucks in his pocket until he has an opportunity to rent this. This isn't against him. It's against Amazon and their drivers and whoever they use, okay? They're horrible, they are inconsiderate, and if you give them an inch, they're gonna take 6 feet, and this is what I've been trying to tell you. So whatever you show me, I'm gonna say to you, nothing personal, but you're lying to me, because that's not what they're gonna do. They're just not. And if you come up to my place in the morning, I can't believe what they do on Industrial Road like it's their driveway. It's awful, okay? And down there, it's just gonna be just as bad, if not worse. And I won't support it. I didn't like it the first time. No ain't God's green earth. But listen, up in the pick in the green area, good luck to you. Put a gate up there, let them do whatever they want, okay? I'm fine with that. But in the field, forget it. It's awful. And they won't stay consistent to any area that you put them in. They're like cattle. They just roam. Sorry.
I agree with you.
That's what I see, Pat.
Is it-
I
That's what I've
see
been
that.
telling you
If
guys.
they're
know,
gonna
I
do it,
know.
is something we could approve, like that green area tonight to get them.
Yeah, but the green area is not consistent. There's no striping, there's no pavement, and previously, it was a
Well,
contractor's yard. I think that's really a good
I
classification
thought he
of
said
what
there
it
was
was.
pavement there, and they're gonna stripe
There's
it.
some pavement, the some is being liberal.
Okay,
This area is decent. Over here is questionable.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a little distinction there.
It's not ready to be parked upon, I'll leave it at that. If that area was, then hey, that's a different discussion, but it's not, so you can't have a discussion on if and buts, I'm sorry. That's just my 2
I'm
cents.
just, again, I agree with you the way they park, I just kinda, let's get something so they can get them the hell out of there and put them up in that green area, that's all I'm saying.
And if the area was ready, that'd be a different discussion
Yeah.
point, but it's not.
Okay.
Well, I agree with Joe. I think that they should follow all the comments that Mike Dean, our engineer, has said, and then come back.
here, actually,
Just an amended site plan. He has an
Yeah.
opportunity to,
yeah, obviously, we don't believe we can approve it tonight, so,
No, we weren't looking for an approval tonight.
oh,
We were
good,
looking for a
because I mean,
section of.
I'll give you a
We're looking
vote.
for these areas to be allowed,
I'll give you
with
a,
that coming back.
I don't think that's happening either. Well, somebody wants to make a motion to that, I believe,
I
I
didn't
believe
hear you,
that, I
Joe.
believe.
What?
what'd you say, unfavorable? Do you want me to make it, is that what you asked for?
Well, no, they were asking for a
Continue.
partial, but
No,
I believe, I
absolutely
believe this
not.
board wants to, would prefer to have this, continued to the next
We
meeting.
need to have real
in order to-
conversation about a real area. Enough with this Wild West and a free-for-all. That's all it is.
I agree with you, Pat,
Sound
because
like-
I see it
Sound
4
like
days a
David now
week.
with the
Sound
wild.
like a motion to continue to me, man.
I would continue it. I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion right now, but it won't be for continuance, I'll tell you.
Motion to continue by Leaner, to hear a
I
second?
second.
Second by Babe. All those in favor? Opposed?
No, I'm not opposed to continuing it.
Unanimous at 4, so we'll see you, I would assume, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you.
With everything done.
CBA variance referral, 19 Beach Street Extension, John Lucas.
Here we go.
The applicant requests a variance to allow for the division of a conforming lot into 2 non-conforming lots. The property consists of non-conforming lots from a 1911 subdivision that have subsequently been merged when the town adopted zoning. There are no conditions relating to the property that constitute a hardship. Therefore, I recommend the board Send an unfavorable recommendation to the zoning board of appeals.
Motion unfavorable.
I'd just like to look and see which one this is.
Second.
Which one is it, Larry?
Well, the problem that you have too, you wanna switch two lots, you wanna keep one, an existing two-family, and then you wanna put a single-family, so basically you're taking and putting three families
Yeah, it's.
on a non-conforming, that doesn't make any
it's a
sense.
It's a through lot. It goes from
Oh, okay.
Archer to Beach Street Extension.
Where is that? Where is that? I know Beach Street,
Back in
Oh, that's-
Mazzarelli's.
behind Mazzarelli's.
That's next door to, that was my grandmother's.
It was not.
This one, the one next
The
to it.
one next to it?
The one that was divided,
Yeah.
My motion still stands.
yeah, this lot was even bigger than that, and we could just get two lots into it. This one here, there's no two lots into it. I know whose,
Yep.
I know whose that is.
Got to-
I think we
Motion by Pat to send an unfavorable to the zoning board of appeals. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lena. All those in favor of sending an unfavorable
Can I have a little
recommendation?
discussion?
Sure, sorry about that bit.
No, no problem. I'd like to send, with the letter to the zoning board is, but I'd like to say, there's a zoning is for a reason. And to start creating more non-conforming lots is,
But they're making that's been their adage the last couple of years.
I understand, but our feeling is, my feeling is anyway, that we should not be creating non-conforming lots. There's
Not as
no
a matter of
pro-
right.
There's no problem with having the one lot. It's in a,
RB.
it's RB,
Yep.
okay,
It's not confined, it's not confined, it's a two-family in an
They can't
RB
do it
zone.
anyway.
yeah.
And,
I mean, again,
Well, they just did that over there by, where the New Woodland School is.
Yep.
yeah,
They, 9,000 square feet in RB, what are you, nuts?
Look at the one
On that
Look
intersection,
at the one on Howard Street.
but I mean, I
same
don't.
thing on Howard Street. They did that with an RC's,
yeah,
again, it's,
I don't quite
it's highly
understand it.
discouraging when we have zoning, and I believe it's been, been voted on by the people of the town, and then we end up with.
Yeah,
there's
194
open space, so
Congress.
why don't we make another lot? I mean, there was a reason why the zoning was created, and
Correct.
certainly there are some hardships, but when it's been, I don't know how many years that's been that way, I don't understand the hardship, and it wasn't, the person that owns this, I know for a fact, was not the owner when that zoning went into effect. So, I mean, they bought a single-family lot, they have a single-family lot, to me, there is no hardship. But I don't know what else Larry's letter pretty much clearly says there's no hardship, but it's not our decision to make at the end of the day.
I even said it twice by mistake.
Yeah, you did, I noticed that, but I didn't read it twice.
and it's just to reiterate the fact that
Can you send, like
say
Dave
it-
said?
that
Can you
we
s-
should not be creating non-conforming
Conforming,
lots.
Yes, to a side letter, Larry, stating that the feeling of the board is that zoning is, has a purpose. And to willfully and intentionally be creating non-conforming lots is contrary to the zoning.
Right,
And that we would implore them,
to follow it.
Yeah, technically, they're not,
Yeah, they're not bound by
their
that.
action
know
is
that.
not creating non-conforming lots.
well, to me it is.
So
but
they're,
whatever.
they're just, they're granting variances to create additional undersized lots. But a nonconformity is normally not a legal use.
Write a letter that you get the gist of what we're
Express
trying to
the,
say, please.
I mean,
I'm not gonna split hairs
Zoning,
with you right
zoning
now.
101.
Thank you, pal. Moving right along. Oh, do you have to vote on
we
it?
haven't voted yet.
non-conforming and whatever that's like the illegal alien or undocumented, I mean, it's the same thing when it comes
Careful.
out.
That's a good analogy.
I'm not getting involved in that discussion.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Not
Hearing
that
none. All those in favor of sending an unfavorable to the zoning board of appeals?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 4.
We'll have them watch the TV.
All right, what do we got here?
My favorite sign,
No, this ain't the one.
isn't it?
The sign,
No, this is Medway Street, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
100.
This has gotta be the old print shop?
Uh,
The Home National.
Home National.
Oh, yeah.
It's a cemetery.
ZBA variance referral, 100 Medway Street, Barlow sign.
Oh, my, done to me.
The applicant is requesting a variance to allow for the installation of a sign on the subject property not in compliance with current zoning requirements. This application is, by the way, this is Larry's letter, just so we're clear what I'm reading.
Yep.
This application is incomplete as there is no enumeration of the specific waivers being requested and for which specific locations. Subject property has 230 feet of lot frontage on Medway Street, which calculates to 230 square feet of signage on each face of the proposed double-face freestanding pylon sign. The pylon sign being proposed is for 340 square feet of signage on each face. There appears to be no hardship whatsoever relating to this property, therefore I recommend it unfavorable to the zoning board.
Motion for unfavorable.
Let's see if we have a picture of the sign, just.
No, you have a sign, but I don't, I don't know if it's an accurate sign.
Here it is.
Yeah, this,
Oh, this is,
They're taking the clock down and, unfortunately, and putting the sign in that island.
yeah, I mean, it's the same as any other building. Why,
Yeah,
again, it's like, why do we have a sign bylaw of any type? And
Because you have the old Kmart that went up, went 6
Don't
miles
talk
up
to me
in the
about
air.
that.
That's why, I mean, why ask questions you already have the answers to? If I got it next to you, I should get it it's the old me too.
unfavorable, Pat has made a motion, send it unfavorable to the zoning board of appeals. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lena. Any further discussion? None on this one. All those in favor of sending an unfavorable to the zoning board of
Aye.
appeals, signify by saying aye.
Aye,
Opposed? Unanimous at 4.
we'll get it
Any
done.
further discussions? Any other business?
Anything, any other business, anything else anyone want to bring up?
Motion to adjourn.
No,
Motion by Pat to adjourn. Here a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Lena. All those in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous at 4.
Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you and good night.
Good job.